My daughter's birthday is coming up really soon. I have an idea for a gift to make for her, but to do it, I have to cut a hole in this workbench to make it happen. And it's using a tool that I'm not that familiar with, and I'm kind of nervous how this is gonna go.
I'm not the most patient person, and that plays out in many ways. Most of the time, it comes back to bite me in the butt. And I'm not just talking about this project where I'm building a sign for my daughter. It happens all the time. However, my plan here is to build her a sign for her bedroom door because it's her 10th birthday this week. So I have 10 days to get this project all the way finished. But that also means, as you guessed, I started right now without really a solid plan, more just the hint of one. I have an idea and I need to figure out if I can actually make it happen. I know this has kind of been the theme lately of some of my videos, this balance between creativity and work, and sometimes just going headfirst into it all and figuring it out as you go is the fun. Almost like building an airplane as you fly it. Sometimes it might crash and burn, but other times it's actually going to fly. Well, that is until I come to how I'm actually going to hang this on her door. Past me has no idea about that. So after measuring out the size for these letters, I cut them all down to the pieces I need to make her name out of block lettering. Some need to cut down a little bit further on the bandsaw, which I use my makeshift miter gauge to do. I'm going to glue it all together using CA glue because, like I said, I'm impatient. And that's what I want to talk about today as I build this sign and the eventual router table that needs to go with it. I want to talk about patience, waiting on God. If this is the first time you've made it to this channel, welcome. My name is Jeremy. I'm also a pastor, hence the Woodworking Pastor is the name of this channel. And I want to share some of what I've been meditating on and thinking about in regards to waiting on God. In Andrew Murray's book, Waiting on God, he writes this: "It is God alone who began the work of redemption. It is God alone who carries it on in each moment and in each individual believer. Waiting on God is just as indispensable and must be as continuous and unbroken as the breathing that maintains our natural life." As I first read these words, it stung. The reality that my lack of patience revealed my selfish heart. But even more concerning is how this was my default, my everyday. I was so concerned with my own desires that I had lost sight of God's. I'm not just talking about the feeling of being stuck behind a slow driver. It's also the moments with my wife and kids where instead of grace, I'm harsh. It's my unwillingness to be satisfied with what I have. It's always looking ahead and not being present in the moment. And as I make this sign, I'm thinking back on the last 10 years, the highs and the lows, the giggles and the stories. I'm struck with how fast it's all gone by, and even more as my lack of patience impacts my kids, how my own frustrations and anxieties and fears and selfishness has in some ways been passed down to them. It was even this morning on our way to school that Asher realized she had left her clarinet at home. And immediately she begins apologizing to me as we turn the car around. I was struck by how she assumed I was annoyed and frustrated. She thought I would be upset or mad with her. Instead, I was calm and I explained to her that this was not a big deal at all. And it wasn't until our way back to the school that the person in front of me was driving only 25 miles an hour in a 35 that I started to lose some of my patience. But even this moment made me start to think, how has my patience been perceived, or my lack of patience been perceived by those around me? Murray also gives some of the solution to our lack of waiting, but more on that later. Back to the build, and this is supposed to be the part where I tell you I've actually slowed down and taken my own advice, and no, I'm not. I got moving too fast. I knocked over a mason jar, and even cleaning up the glass, I cut my thumb. And in the jar was some beeswax and finish mixture that now I had to get rid of, and that's kind of a bummer. So I decided to go with Danish oil on the backboard where all of the letters are going to sit. And I'll use my custom mix on the letters themselves. I think it just brings out a better contrast that we're going to see in the end in a little bit here of how the lettering will just pop on this board. Now, I'm new to woodworking, so I don't know what boards or what I don't even know what some of the species of wood that I'm working with are. And if you do know, you can let me know in the comments below. Some of this was just given to me. Some of it's pine. Some of it is other wood. And I'm not quite sure what hardwoods I'm even working with because I didn't pick them up myself. And that's what we're working with here. As I put in the oil, I'm going to let it sit, and then I'll come back, even not that long, I'll wipe it away. I'm going to do the same thing here with all of the lettering that I've already sanded and put together. I decided to sand them after I glued the letters together because I was worried that I would sand in such a way that you would have gaps or things, and it just made everything a little bit more difficult to get it all the way I wanted. I would have loved to put a nice round over on the edges, but I was a little nervous and I didn't have a router table to do that on yet. Maybe on the next signs I will do that. But here I am putting it all together, gluing it down, spacing it all out nice and neatly so that everything is symmetrical, using a piece of tape there on the bottom to make sure I keep it. And it came out absolutely perfect, but there's a problem. How am I going to actually hang this on the wall?
I think the thought is that if I take these legs off, take this switch out, I would essentially have this router plate that I then can attach really easily, throwing some supports underneath, and I can cut the square needed out using a jigsaw. Mount this back again so I have a nice easy access to the switch. My only concern is, in doing all that, how accessible will it be to adjust? I think I'm going to need to get, because I got this off of Facebook Marketplace, so I don't have everything. The only way I was able to raise and lower the router was using this knob right here. I don't have a key that fits that hole, a nut driver or anything like that that fits. Quarters, and this is just over. It's at 1 inch exactly. So this is going to be a 1/4 inch thicker than this. So it means we're going to need a 1/4 inch gap at the bottom. My idea had been to take some scrap wood and mount this to the scrap wood, that then I'd be able to screw it in flush underneath. So this would be sitting under, and it would hold everything really sturdy. It's either that, or I put the legs back on and I build a platform, which I didn't really want to do.
After a ton of thinking, I moved ahead with the plan. I need to get this sign finished, and that means installing this router table fast. But there is still one major problem. I've never actually used a router table before. Well, actually, there's two problems. I can't even get to my table saw, and that's why on this channel I started a series where I'm taking all the money these videos make and put it right back into organizing and building out my wood shop.
And this is why, I don't even know what this was from, but I kept all these, and it turns out I got 4 of the ones I need. But this is just insurance, because the weight is really going to sit pushing down, but this is just to attach this into that so it's easier to put it. So I got to get everything marked up. We can drill some holes. You notice one problem? If I ever want to put a fence, so we're going to fix that.
Before we can just land on the solution to our waiting on God problem, it's important to go just a little bit further and diagnose the true problem. Murray also says this: waiting on God is not only rendered necessary by our sin and our helplessness, it is simply and truly our restoration to our original destiny and our highest nobility, to our true place in glory as creatures blessedly dependent on the all-glorious God. What I think Murray means here is that our sinful state makes us helpless before God. We can't do anything on our own to enact our own goodness or to save ourselves in any way, shape, or form. So in all reality, all we can do is wait on God to move and work and transform us. So for us to wait on God and learn what that looks like in our daily lives is in a way the truest sense of what it is to glorify and honor God, that we are brought back to the place where we remember who God is and who we are. It's an element of our worship every time we gather on the Lord's Day to be reminded of the holiness of God and the sinfulness of man, and that this idea of waiting on God draws us deeper into relationship with Him. So how do we do this? What is the solution? How do we better wait on God? And that's where Murray's last quote I'm going to share today comes in. Our private and public prayer are our chief expression of our relation to God. It is in them chiefly that our waiting upon God must be exercised. Like any muscle, our ability to wait on God grows stronger the more we exercise it, and Murray proposes this exercise chiefly happens in our prayer life. So are you struggling to wait on God? Then ask yourself, what does your prayer life look like? Have you spent time before Him in prayer, leaning on Him, waiting on Him? This is where praying the Psalms can be such a helpful practice as we seek for the words to wait. I'll link below a number of different Psalms that can be used for this very purpose. But also, if you want to pick up Murray's book, Waiting on God, it has 31 devotionals, one for each day, to guide and challenge us as we try to wait on God. Psalm 62 says this: "For God alone my soul waits in silence. From Him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be greatly shaken." And when we read those words and meditate on those words and use those to guide our prayer life, our exercise of faith and trust in God grows and grows. Speaking of waiting, you have been so patient in watching this video, and if you've made it to this point, first off, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you'd consider hitting that like button down there below, it would greatly help get this video out to more people. And as you can see, as you've been watching, we have put in the router table. We've leveled everything out, had to chisel off a little bit to make it all fit perfectly. And now is the time of truth, the moment that we've all been waiting for. Will this actually work to hang the sign on my daughter's door? So I'm going to make some keyhole slots here, but I'm not going to use the piece that I've finished and sanded and everything. First, I'm going to use a scrap piece, as you see here, seeing if this little jig and fence setup with my level will actually work. And it does, kind of. It works going one direction, but not as good the other direction. But I was, let's say, impatient. I didn't want to reset it up on the other side so both could be pushed away. So here we go. Let's do it on the actual sign this time, and then we're going to go put it on her door. I'm going to let you just watch the rest of the video and see the final result. Guys, I appreciate you so much. If you've liked this video, please consider subscribing for more like this, and let's just enjoy the last little bit in silence.